Backtries Nation, what is good? We already have fantasy football advice. Let's get right into it with yours truly. Let's break it down. If you guys don't remember a lot of the stuff that I was saying, one of the main things with the running back position that we did really good this year with was the 350 total touch rule. And if you don't know what that rule is, it's when a running back the following season gets a total of 350 total touches. The next season, they have a 96% chance of having a decreased year in points, touches, all that. A worse fantasy season than the season before. 96%. This is a study that was done for 17 straight fantasy football seasons. And again, we had our guys. Let's see how we did. The first guy that I was telling people not to draft because of this rule was Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was someone that I did not like a lot just because of the new offensive scheme. And again, the opportunities were just not there. Being the RB4 last year, going from RB4 to RB8, losing about 3.4 points per game for the position. And again, the touchdowns decreasing, the yards definitely decreasing, going from 2,100 total yards to 1,745. So again, going from about nearly 20 points per game to 16 points per game was not something good for Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley was our next participant up, and I was telling people not to draft him number one, but he took the biggest hit, getting on average 8.5 points a game, taken away, losing about nearly half of his touchdowns, going from the RB2 to the RB14, averaging 22 fantasy points a game 2 years ago, and going to 13.6 points per game. Absolutely terrible. Again, this Kevin Patullo offense was not built for Saquon Barkley. He was barely getting used, and again, getting himself on the list for this 350 total touch rule. Now for a guy I really thought it was going to be more of a negative impact because of this rule was indeed Kyren Williams. And again, Kyren Williams lost a lot of production at the goal line. But again, only losing 1.5 points per game is not something bad. And I feel like that had a lot to do with the Davante Adams injury. But again, it was still a pretty decent year for Kyren Williams, going from the RB7 to the RB9. But again, losing about 3 touchdowns, going from 17 points per game to 15.5 points per game. So again, it was not the worst case scenario for Kyren Williams at all. Now for the third outlier in this study's history, Bijan Robinson. And you might be like, Jack, Bijan Robinson was not getting a lot of goal line carries, but still, he was an outlier in this test just because he did gain about 1.7 points per game, but also the touchdowns were not there. But if you're playing in a PPR league, this dude was a beast, getting about 100 receptions in the season, I'm telling you. And already a spoiler alert, he is on the list this year, and I'm not really too worried about Bijan. Am I more worried about Bijan this year than I was last year? I'm going to answer that question, but I got to show you my other 2 running backs that got the total of 350 total yards. First guy, unfortunately, is Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor is probably the highest guy that I'm pretty concerned about with this. Just because Jonathan Taylor had such a successful year last year, the question mark at quarterback, the question mark with the Colts in general, especially in a division that is very competitive against the run, it's not something that I'm loving way too much just because Jonathan Taylor's price is simply just going to be way too high. Similar to Saquon Barkley, where Barkley wasn't terribly bad. But again, Jonathan Taylor in the first round is just not something that I'm loving, especially that it is not at the back end of your drafts. And someone who has seen himself on this list a couple times already. Mind you, this is his 3rd time ever being on the 350 total touch rule list. And again, both times that this dude was on it, he got negative points. He had a worse year the year after he got this total touch mark. So again, same thing with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was also on this list at one point, and unfortunately, his production went down. But again, there is one more guy in this test. Again, like I said, the last guy on this list that I am not too concerned about now, especially with the new coaching hire of Kevin Stefanski, is Bijan Robinson. Again, he was an outlier last year, and I'm telling you guys to draft him with some type of precaution. That is really it. But still, I am picking Bijan highly in my drafts. I am not telling you not to draft him. It's something that you should be keeping your eyes on. Maybe more of a sell candidate in Dynasty, but again, this is something that I am not too concerned about at all. Like I said last year, you should still be drafting Bijan. I am not worried. If I had to rank it out of 5, I'm 1 out of 5, risk, or pretty concerned about Bijan. The other two running backs, though, unfortunately, I'm pretty concerned about. Why am I so concerned about Jonathan Taylor and CMC? It's more Jonathan Taylor because Jonathan Taylor has had this mark, and in that same season, had a regression. Again, he had a total of 350 back in 2021, and then in 2022, he had a disappointing year. In that same year, the season before, there was indeed two other running backs that had this amount of total touches. They also went down. Those two running backs were Najee Harris and Joe Mixon. So, 2022, 2023, another three running backs got it. It was Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. Those three running backs have decreased. In all 17 seasons, there have only been two studies of three running backs getting a total of 350 total touches. Those are the two instances. This is the third time that it's ever happened. It's already 6 for 6 with all of this being a decrease. Is this a good sign for Jonathan Taylor? Christian McCaffrey. James Cook was not too far away from this. He was nearly close of being on this list, but unfortunately, kind of a good thing that he didn't make this list. But anyway, it's really something that you need to be keeping your eyes on, especially with these three guys, especially with Jonathan Taylor probably going in the first round of your fantasy football drafts, probably a little high. CMC debatably being your first overall pick. Me personally, I'm staying away from that situation. But Bijan Robinson, I am not that scared about. Again, his age is really nothing that should be concerned. Again, he is 23, turning 24. There has not been a lot of running backs in this test that have been this young. Again, Saquon Barkley is one of those guys, and Saquon was just in a worse situation compared to Bijan. Now getting Kevin Stefanski, like I said, I think that does ultimately help him. But Jack Tries Nation, what are we thinking? Is this doo-doo garbage? Is this super hot fire? I have been attaching myself to this test for the last 2 years, and it's been helping me win my fantasy football championships. I feel like I had to give it to you guys. I had to show you guys that this test is a real thing. Again, I've been telling you guys this on my lives. I had to make a video about it this year. And again, these three guys, keep your eyes out. And again, I'm sorry, Jonathan Taylor owners. I'm sorry, Christian McCaffrey owners. And I'm sorry, Bijan Robinson owners, for giving you a little bit of a scare, but it's okay. You guys need to be following, liking up the videos for some more. I got you guys. Early bird gets the worm. Jack Tries Nation. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.